Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. A lot of people come to us for advice sometimes, and they're suffering from many ailments. And what we have identified, there are 6 main ailments that people are suffering from when they come for advice. Number 1, obviously, is physical illness. People have medical issues. It could be an illness, could be even as severe as cancer or something quite grave like that. And what we advise people is to seek medical advice, and there are means that have been created for you to utilize in terms of all the hospitals, the doctors, the medicine. These should be utilized. Number 2, we find a lot of people are suffering from mental issues like depression, anxiety, and this seems to be spiraling out of control in this modern day society that we live in, especially in the Western world, where people have so much abundance in terms of food, in terms of clothes, in terms of all the material possessions, but they're still depressed. And the suicide rate in these Western countries is a lot higher than in the Eastern world, where people have little possessions. So something is terribly wrong here, and that shows you also that true success does not lie in having an abundance of material possessions and money and name and fame and richness of that nature that most of us desire. It's actually, you'll find a lot of these people are suffering from depression and mental illnesses. And a lot of people also, even on a lower level, if they may not be rich, they may not be famous, is that the reason why they are depressed is either they're living in the past. They look back at all the things in their lives that they can no longer change, that may be a grievance against them by other people, or pain that has been inflicted to them from relatives and friends that which they are still lingering on in their minds. Or number 2, they are living in the future. They're worried about the future. What's going to happen? When is the day of judgment coming? As many Muslims are here. When is the Dajjal coming? When am I ever going to get a job? Am I ever going to get married? Am I ever going to have children? What's going to happen to my children when they grow up? Are they going to get jobs? Are they going to get married? And that anxiety is never ending. We are constantly thinking about things in the future which may or may not happen. And very few people are living in the present moment. This is why we have these huge issues in our society, is because we are living for future happiness. I'm going to be happy when I make £1 million. I'm going to be happy when I retire. I'm going to be happy when I get married. But we sacrifice that present moment. And that's very, very important. Do not sacrifice the present for the future, which may not come, which may happen, may not happen. And number 3, a lot of people have spiritual issues as well, which do not get diagnosed. They may think something is mental, or they keep going to the doctors keep doing tests, they send them to hospitals, consultants, and the consultants find that there's nothing wrong with them. They're unable to identify their illness. But what they fail to diagnose is that these could be spiritual illnesses, could be jinn-related issues, which they need a proper spiritual person who can do ruqya, or who can diagnose and basically give them a spiritual prescription from the Quran and Sunnah that can alleviate. We've seen many of those peoples as well, where they're suffering because of jinn-related issues. And that, inshallah ta'ala, will be a totally separate talk on a different day, where we will go into detail as to what this world of jinns is about and how they affect us human beings. Number 4, people have black magic issues. And what is black magic? Again, another topic which we will deal with in relation to the jinns, that black magic is a form of magic spells, witchcraft, and all sort of evil spells that people do on each other through these so-called fake witch doctors and evil people who are able to enlist the help of jinnats and then be able to affect other people. As I've said, this is a separate subject that inshallah we will deal with in detail in one of the future podcasts. But today I just want to just very briefly touch upon these things, that what generically, how when people are suffering, we can categorize them in these 6 different categories. So physical illness, mental illness, jinn related, black magic, and the other one is evil eye. Yes, it's a fact that through the evil eye, through the envious eye, people's life situations can change for the worse. Somebody could be so beautiful, they could be so successful, or they may have something that which others desire and they don't want them to have it. And through that evil eye and that jealousy, it disrupts that person's life and they end up losing, physically declining in their health, or their businesses basically become disrupted. They lose their money, they lose their livelihood, their marriage breaks up. These issues are for real. They do happen. We need to just wake up and realize that this is a true fact of life. And that's why I always tell people to refrain from posting messages out on social media which do not concern other people. There's no need to tell people you're in this fancy restaurant and you're having this delicious food, or you and your wife are so much in love with each other. There's no need to do a big lovely Titanic style pose in each other's arms and posting it on social media, or just lovey-dovey poses. We don't need to know that. Nobody else needs to know that. If you are romantic with your spouse, then keep it to the 4 walls of your own house. There's no need to post it to the world, because you will attract the evil eye. And then people wonder, what's happened to our life? What's happened to our marriage? Why is my spouse not talking to me now? And they have these big weddings as well, and they want to post on social media to show other people that how rich they are, how lucky they are. They're coming in to their wedding venue in their helicopter. It's just all this show off is actually harming you. And finally, the 6th one, which many people also fail to realize, is that when they fall into problems, it could be illness, it could be like their own sort of spiritual disturbance inside of them, or the things around them are falling apart. It's because of their own sins and darkness that which they attract through their own evil actions. So if I go and commit zina, and then I'm scratching my head thinking why my marriage is failing. Of course it's going to fail, because of the darkness and the sins that you attract, the sins that we commit, the darkness that we attract. It has an effect on my own household. If I go and earn unlawful earnings, maybe I'm selling drugs, I'm selling alcohol, which is forbidden for us, and then I come and feed my children, then I'm scratching my head thinking, why are my children not listening to me? Why have they become so delinquent, and why are they not praying, and they are causing me havoc in my life? Because you've been feeding them with unlawful sustenance, haram. And then you wonder why the peace in the household has been disturbed and is no longer there. So our own sins have a big effect on our lives as well. So these are the things that you really have to be mindful of. So very quickly I'll recap. Number 1, physical illness. Number 2, mental illness and anxiety. Number 3, jinns. Number 4, black magic. Number 5, evil eye. And number 6, the zulm that we do upon ourselves. That this is the injustice that we do upon ourselves by committing the sins. Again, I'll be dealing with this in more detail in a future podcast, that we inside this physical body, there's a spirit which has met Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and the spirit finds peace in the remembrance of Allah and by remembering your creator. And because we are disconnected with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, then the spirit is the one that becomes uneasy and causes all this depression and anxiety in our lives. We'll deal that with more detail in one of our future podcasts. Well, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala bless you all, and we'll see you again shortly. Allah Hafiz.